It is December 14th, 2025, and you're listening to Boquete Weekly. I'm Sean Murphy, and this is your source for English language news in Boquete. This episode is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Living in beautiful Boquete means enjoying mountain air, incredible coffee, and a slower pace of life. But let's be honest, it can also mean frustration when you're trying to access banking at home, stream your favorite shows on TV, or manage accounts that suddenly think you're in the wrong country. That's where today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, comes in. Surfshark lets you browse the internet as if you were back in the United States or anywhere else in the world. Need to check your US bank account? Need to stream Netflix like you're in Miami? Access services that are geographically restricted? Surfshark makes it simple and secure. But here's what really sets Surfshark apart. Unlimited device connections. That means your laptop, your phone, your tablet, and even your smart TV can all connect under one account. No need to choose which devices get coverage. And with military-grade encryption, your online activity stays private, whether you're checking email, at a Boquete coffee shop, managing finances, or just browsing the web. Right now, Surfshark is offering 24 months for $45.63. That's $1.69 per month when you buy 24 at once. And listeners to this show get an extra 3 months free when you sign up using the link boquetedeals.online/VPN. Before we begin the episode, I have an announcement from the Boquete Mayor's Office I've been asked to read. The Boquete Mayor's Office informs the public that no official from this institution is soliciting gas tanks from the community. Recently, some residents reported that two individuals are requesting gas tanks in exchange for filling them, accompanied by a Christmas tree, which is false and constitutes an illegal act. The mayor's office reports that police have received this report and are in the process of locating these criminals who are impersonating municipal officers and traveling in a pickup truck used to commit these crimes. The general public is warned not to hand over any items or goods to these individuals impersonating the mayor's office. It is expected that these individuals will be apprehended and brought to justice. The community should be vigilant and report any suspicious activity to ensure everyone's safety. Briefly before we begin, if you would like to support this show financially, please keep listening at the end of the episode. In Latin American news, more than 10 days after the Honduran presidential elections on November 30th, there is still no official winner of the contest, with the National Electoral Council rapidly losing credibility amid growing fears of street protests. The National Electoral Council, or CNE, has managed to publish an update on December 11th. This showed that with 99.4% of the votes counted, the man endorsed by U.S. President Donald Trump, Nasri Asufra of the right-wing Partido Nacional, has received 1.298 million votes, or 40.52%, putting him just ahead of Salvador Nasralla, the candidate of the centrist Partido Liberal, with 1.256 million ballots, or 39.48%. Rixi Moncada of the ruling left-wing Libertad y Refundación party was in a distant third with 618,448 votes, or 19.29%. However, the CNE's difficulties cast something of a shadow over those numbers. The CNE admitted there had been technical problems in TERP, the system used to transmit early results. There had been two, quote, moments of difficulty, unquote, in processing department vote totals. Computer system password securities had been compromised by a leak, and perhaps most importantly, a large number of ballot tally sheets displayed inconsistencies which need to be investigated. The difference between the two front-running candidates is on the order of 42,407 votes, or 1.04 percentage points. However, CNE officials indicate that as many as 2,600 tally sheets, representing up to 500,000 votes, need to be checked. The outcome of the process could therefore swing the results of the presidential race in one direction or another. The main players have responded in different ways to the CNE's difficulties. Libre, the ruling party of President Xiomara Castro, asked the electoral authorities to declare the election null and void, citing the difficulties in TERP. Nasrallah, on the other hand, does not support annulments but claims that votes have been subtracted from his total and that more than 5,000 tally sheets contain serious errors. Nasrallah has protested over what he calls a monumental fraud and called for a, quote, return by return, end quote, scrutiny of the results. The centrist candidate says he won the presidential race, quote, by a wide margin, end quote. Libre has decided to formally back Nasrallah, with former President Manuel Zelaya declaring the PL candidate to be the rightful victor. Zelaya and Libre are also accusing the U.S. of unwanted interference in Honduras's sovereign affairs and of supporting, quote, an electoral coup, end quote. They cite President Trump's endorsement of Azufra, the pardon he granted to former President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was serving a 45-year jail sentence in the U.S. on drug trafficking charges, and his threat to cut aid if Azufra is not elected. The U.S. government has insisted it sees, quote, no credible evidence, end quote, of electoral fraud that would justify annulment of the elections. Officials in Washington stressed that the election was monitored by observers from the Organization of American States and the European Union. They added that CNE should, quote, expeditiously, unquote, certify the election result. One difficult scenario would be a repeat of what took place in the wake of the 2017 elections. Those were eventually won by the PN, but technical difficulties and claims of fraud created a toxic atmosphere which led to months of nationwide protests and violent clashes. Back then, it took 21 days for the CNE to proclaim a winner. Analysts lay much of the blame on politicians who have failed over the years to build a more modern and robust electoral system. One of them, Rodolfo Dumas, told the Spanish news agency EFE that the Honduran population had behaved in, quote, an exemplary fashion, unquote, voting in a peaceful and orderly manner. But now it fell to the politicians to act responsibly and ensure a democratic outcome. Another analyst, Miguel Cayex, said politicians have done, quote, absolutely nothing, end quote, to strengthen the electoral system, leading to, quote, institutional fragility, end quote, and a loss of trust. This story was originally published in Latin News. Bolsonaro's eldest son says he'll run for Brazil's presidency in 2026. Brazilian Senator Flavio Bolsonaro, the eldest son of former President Jair Bolsonaro, said Friday that his father decided he should represent their political group and run for president in 2026. Bolsonaro Sr. was arrested last month and began serving a 27-year prison sentence after being convicted of attempting a coup. The far-right leader has already been barred from running for office until 2030 as part of a separate process against him. Quote, it is with great responsibility that I confirm the decision of Brazil's greatest political and moral leader, Jair Messias Bolsonaro, to entrust me with the mission of continuing our national project, end quote, Flavio Bolsonaro wrote on X. The office of Senator Bolsonaro confirmed to the Associated Press that he will challenge President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who is running for a fourth non-consecutive term as the candidate of Bolsonaro's Liberal Party. The office also said Flavio Bolsonaro visited his father in prison on Tuesday. Flavio Bolsonaro was elected senator in 2018 for an 8-year term, following a career as a state legislator in Rio de Janeiro. The politician was at the center of allegations of embezzlement of public funds involving the family's political offices. Prosecutors charged him, but the case was dismissed by the courts. The senator has denied any wrongdoing. Many politicians in Brazil viewed Sao Paulo Governor Tarcísio de Freitas, a former member of Jair Bolsonaro's cabinet, as the natural successor. However, he faced resistance from Bolsonaro's inner circle, which has also considered his son, Flavio Bolsonaro, as a presidential option. Opinion polls have showed that Bolsonaro remains central to Brazil's polarized landscape. Even behind bars, he could determine who carries his coalition's flag into the 2026 election. Observers say that to become a competitive contender against Lula, any opposition candidate must first secure the critical electoral base and explicit support of far-right leader Bolsonaro. This story was originally reported in the Associated Press. This show is produced in partnership with TripAdvisor by Viator. Right now, the producers of the show have curated a collection of unique and fun experiences in Boquete that you can book at boquetedeals.online. It's a wonderful way to support this show and to find exciting and fun activities to participate in your local community, such as coffee tours, bicycle tours, hiking, and other fun Boquete activities. If you would like to support this show in a more direct fashion, please listen at the end of the show for details on how you can make a donation. In Panamanian news, the National Minimum Wage Commission reached an agreement that will define the new rates that will govern in Panama from January 16th, 2026, an adjustment that would affect more than 400,000 workers. After weeks of deliberations and tensions, representatives of the labor, employer, and government sectors announced on the afternoon of Wednesday, December 10th, that they had reached a consensus that seeks to balance two objectives: improving employee income without compromising the stability of the labor market. Specifically, the adjustment introduces different variations depending on the economic activity and the region. In Region 1, the domestic sector will receive a $10 monthly increase, while security personnel will receive a $12 raise in both regions. Restaurant, hotel, and freight transport workers will also see improvements with an increase of $9.50. In Region 2, the largest adjustment applies to waste collectors, who will receive an additional $15 per month. For retail trade, the increase will be $9.50 in both regions, and for wholesale trade, specifically in Region 1, a similar adjustment of $9.50 per month will be applied. The Minister of Labor, Jacqueline Muñez de Cedeño, highlighted the responsibility shown by both sides in prioritizing social peace and economic recovery. She noted that government's projections point to growth driven by the major infrastructure projects underway throughout the country, which, in her view, will allow the impact of wage adjustment to be absorbed. Looking ahead, the Tripartite Commission agreed to hold regular meetings starting in 2026 to monitor the country's economic conditions and ensure that wages remain aligned with production levels. According to the Ministry of Labor, this mechanism aims to strengthen confidence in the labor market and guarantee the preservation and creation of stable jobs. However, the final week of deliberation was marked by tensions among labor unions. According to members of the National Confederation of Independent Trade Union Unity, or CONUSI, they were excluded from the working group, which is why they disrupted Tuesday's meeting, held in a room where representatives of the National Council of Organized Workers, CONATO, the employer sector, the Ministry of Labor, Jacqueline Munoz, and the Minister of Commerce and Industries, Julio Molto, were present. The Ministry of Labor gave its version through a statement issued after 11 p.m. on Tuesday, in which it indicated that, quote, both the worker sector and the employer sector met separately to study and analyze what was presented in the commission meetings. However, the representatives of CONUSI decided not to participate, end quote. This story was originally reported in La Prensa. The Panamanian Ministry of Health issued an epidemiological alert due to the increase in influenza activity in the Northern Hemisphere, according to recent reports from the Pan American Health Organization, which indicate an earlier and more active start to the 2025-2026 flu season. International analyses indicate that the influenza A virus predominates, with the H1N1 subtype circulating mainly in the Caribbean and Central America, while H3N2 stands out in North America. Despite this scenario, health authorities confirmed that no cases of the H3N2 identified in the United Kingdom, and potentially with greater severity in old people, have been detected in Panama. National surveillance of respiratory syndromes shows that influenza activity remains within low parameters, with 21.6 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, as does pneumonia and bronchopneumonia, which register 9.2 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Bronchiolitis, although still above the seasonal threshold, with 11 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, shows a downward trend. In laboratories, however, viral circulation is more visible, The positive rate for influenza reached 32.6%, exceeding the alert threshold, while respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, reached 24%, also above what is expected for this time of year. SARS Corona 2 made a very low precedence with only 0.4% of tests positive. Even so, the severity indications have remained largely unchanged, and no new deaths from influenza or COVID-19 were reported during the epidemiological week of 48. So far this year, Panama has recorded 97 deaths from influenza and 47 from COVID-19. The coexistence of these respiratory viruses, particularly influenza A and RSV, presents a scenario that the Ministry of Health describes as, quote, active co-circulation, end quote, which requires strengthening preventative measures. The Ministry of Health reiterated its call to the population to go to health centers and receive vaccines against influenza and RSV, especially priority groups, in addition to keeping up to date with COVID-19 boosters in people with risk factors. The Ministry of Health also urged those experiencing respiratory symptoms to seek medical attention promptly and to strengthen self-care to protect the most vulnerable. The Department of Epidemiology will continue to closely monitor the behavior of respiratory viruses, both national and regionally, and will announce any relevant updates as the situation evolves. This story was originally reported in La Prensa. Moving on to local news, a total of 11 companies participated in the public act of homologation of the project for the construction, rehabilitation, and maintenance of the coffee route and second entrance of Boquete in the province of Chiriquí, reported the Ministry of Public Works. The project, with a reference price of $27 million, covers an approximate length of 25.2 kilometers and seeks to improve the connectivity of Boquete as well as rehabilitate and maintain its road network, guaranteeing greater safety and accessibility for residents and visitors. Road sections included in the project: Volcancito Road from Alto Boquete to its intersection with the El Santo Road, Via El Santo from its intersection with Volcancito to Avenue Centenario in Bajo Boquete, Via Llamarillo Abria to Llamarillo Abajo, Via Llamarillo Centro to Bajo Boquete, and road that connects El Salto with the road to Alto Cuyel. In addition, the project includes the rehabilitation of 6 critical points distributed along the routes of Volcancito, El Salto, and the connection with Alto Cuyel. More than 8,000 square meters of sidewalk will be improved for pedestrian safety. This story was originally reported in Telemetro. The central park of the Boquete district has become one of the main meeting points during the Christmas season, receiving families, residents, and national and foreign tourists who come to enjoy the spectacle of lights that illuminate the tourist destination in the province of Chiriquí. According to the organizing committee, the decorations seek to bring the family and the community closer to the meaning of Christmas, an initiative that has been well received by visitors not only from Boquete, but from other parts of Chiriquí and from abroad, since the official lighting of the Christmas tree. In addition to its visual appeal, which even includes an illuminated castle, the event has contributed to the local economic recovery, benefiting merchants, entrepreneurs, restaurants, and the district's tourism sector. Visitors noted that this initiative has strengthened commerce and generated new opportunities for small businesses located around the park. Some attendees described the display as one of the best Christmas decorations in the country, highlighting the creativity, the family atmosphere, and the characteristic climate of Boquete, which make the place an ideal space to share and take photographs. Local authorities in the community have been congratulated by the citizens for the initiative, which keeps the park as one of the most visited during this time, consolidating Boquete as a benchmark for domestic tourism at Christmas. The story was originally reported in TVN. Sports: Panamanian boxer Yame Arboleda will return to the ring in front of his home crowd this Saturday, December 13th, headlining the card at Tierra de Campeones Athena Byron Gym, located in the Cinta Costera. This event marks his return to the ring in Panama after more than 3 years of international competition. The event, organized by G&V Entertainment and Master Promotions, will feature a national 135-pound title fight between Arboleda and Orlando Mosquera. The bout is scheduled for 10 rounds and represents a clash of styles between two boxers with national experience and aspirations within the lightweight division. Arboleda's last appearance in Panama was in August of 2022 when he achieved a unanimous victory over Dominican Jonathan Arenas. After that night, the Panamanian had a competitive run outside the country. He added a victory in Colombia, lost in appearances in the United States and Japan, and in 2025 drew in Mexico. Orlando Mosquera, for his part, comes in with a similar level of experience, although with a lower knockout percentage. The boxer from San Miguelito fought hard this Friday to make weight. The fight card will also include other noteworthy bouts. At 154 pounds, Alex Esponda and Michael Mendoza will face off in a 10-round fight, a clash that could determine future opportunities in the super welterweight division. In the lightweight division, William Vargas will take on Tony Gomez in a 6-round contest. This story was originally reported in La Prensa. Now, moving on to local Chiriqui weather. The Weather Service is still predicting an extended rainy season for this region. However, it is expected that the rainy season will end somewhere between December 25th and January 10th. Above normal rainfall will be expected through the end of December, with weak La Nina conditions continuing to affect patterns. That's all for this week. Thank you for listening to Boquete Weekly. If you would like to support this show, please go to patreon.com/boquete, where for $5 a month, you can receive an ad-free version of this show. For $15 a month, you can ask a question, which I will answer on air and receive a verbal thank you at the beginning of the episode. And for $35 a month, you become an executive producer, entitled to have input into the show and meet with other executive producers once per month to discuss the future of the show. If you would like to contribute but cannot make a monthly contribution, please go to buymeacoffee.com/boquete to make a one-time contribution as little as $1. Even the small contributions help me bring this show to you. I'm Sean Murphy saying thank you for listening. Theme music you are listening to is Wholesome by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons.